All right, let's talk about the financial markets, but probably not in the way you're used to. Forget the spreadsheets and the talking heads for a minute. We're going to look at a cosmic tug-of-war that just might be the hidden rhythm behind every boom and bust cycle.
You felt it, right? That market whiplash, the sudden peaks, and the dizzying drops that seem to come out of absolutely nowhere. It just feels like total chaos, an unpredictable storm of noise with no real pattern.
But what if there is a pattern underneath all that chaos, a kind of hidden pulse driven by forces that are way bigger and way older than any single economy? And that is exactly the hypothesis we're going to dive into right now.
Okay, so let's get right into it. At the very heart of so many complex systems, you see it in biology, you see it in computer code, is a simple push and a pull. Well, the idea here is that markets work on a very similar binary system, a fundamental tug of war between two opposite cosmic forces.
So, meet our two main players, Jupiter and Saturn. On one hand, you have Jupiter. Jupiter is the great expander. Its whole vibe is about growth, big opportunities, and optimism. In the markets, that translates directly into greed, euphoria, and you guessed it, rising prices. And then on the other side of the rope, you've got Saturn. Saturn is the principle of contraction. It brings limits, reality checks, fear, and responsibility. All the stuff that tends to make markets cool their jets, contract, or even fall.
And this is just the perfect way to picture it. It's this constant tug-of-war playing out every single day across the world's exchanges. Jupiter is pulling one way with this wild, unchecked optimism, telling everyone to take more risks, and Saturn is pulling back with caution, basically reminding the market that, hey, trees don't grow to the sky.
Now, check this out, because this visualizes that Jupiter effect perfectly. When its influence gets strong, you see that first wave of initial growth. Okay, nice. Then that builds into peak optimism. But if it's left completely unchecked, it can push things into total overextension. Think about the dot-com bubble in the late 90s. That was classic Jupiter-fueled euphoria, where company valuations got completely disconnected from any kind of reality.
And that brings us to a crucial point. Jupiter's energy isn't some kind of free lunch. All that expansion, all that greed, it almost inevitably leads to a massive market hangover. Of course, that euphoric peak of the tech bubble in 2000 was followed by a very, very painful and long correction.
Okay, this is a really important point, so stick with me here. There's a critical distinction to make. The way these planetary energies hit a massive, collective market is fundamentally different from how they might affect you or me as individuals.
Just look at these two arenas. Financial markets, they run on mob mentality. They take all that complex human emotion and basically boil it down to its most primal drivers, pure fear and pure greed. It's the lowest common denominator. But in your personal astrological chart, you have individual choice. You can consciously use Saturn's energy to, say, build discipline or structure in your life. The market mob, it doesn't have that kind of nuance. It just reacts.
And this quote just nails it. The market is like a giant herd, right? So it's going to express these powerful cosmic energies in their most raw, most simplified form. Jupiter becomes pure irrational greed. Saturn becomes pure systemic fear.
So we've seen them as total opposites, locked in a tug-of-war. But this is where the theory gets really compelling. What happens when these two forces, expansion and contraction, aren't actually fighting, but are working together in the sky?
Yeah, it sounds like a paradox, doesn't it? How can the principles of go and stop work at the same time? Well, it turns out, instead of just canceling each other out, they combine to create something entirely new and, well, incredibly powerful. And this is the basic formula for that kind of change. Think of it like this. Saturn, the planet of structure and endings, comes along and slams the door shut. An old way of doing things is over. But right on its heels, Jupiter, the planet of new opportunities, opens a brand new door. The result isn't just a simple boom or bust, it's a major, fundamental shift in the entire structure of the market. A great example is the Great Conjunction around the year 2000, which really signaled the end of the dot-com era and the start of a whole new economic chapter.
Now, this combination also has a kind of nickname. Astrologers call it royal energy. It's this theme of getting some great fortune, some huge expansion, but it comes with an equally great burden and responsibility. It's the classic story of a new king taking the throne. This table breaks it down perfectly. Jupiter brings the good fortune, the power, the privilege, the big kingdom. But Saturn brings the other side of the coin, the immense responsibility,
the rules, the structures, literally the heavy weight of the crown. You see this play out in the corporate world all the time. A new CEO inherits a massively successful company, but they also inherit the immense pressure to keep that success going.
So, what's the practical takeaway from all of this? I mean, why should an investor or a fund manager even care? Well, it's about shifting your focus away from trying to predict the future and instead developing a strategy for navigating the character of the cycle you're in. It's a totally new lens on risk.
For someone managing institutional money, this framework can become a pretty actionable checklist. It's about spotting those early signs of Jupiter's euphoria, in those high-growth sectors like tech. It's about managing that systemic fear when Saturn's influence takes over, and it's about adapting your asset allocation for the inevitable hangovers. It means you're rebalancing your portfolio based on these huge long-term structural themes, not just reacting to the noise of the daily news cycle.
So, and this is maybe the most important takeaway of all. This framework is not a crystal ball. It is not going to tell you the price of gold tomorrow afternoon. Its real power is in giving you a kind of map, a way to understand the character of the times we are in. Are we in a period of wild, unchecked expansion, or are we in a period of necessary contraction and restructuring?
And that leaves us with one final thought. If you could see these larger, cyclical patterns playing out, this cosmic tug-of-war between expansion and contraction, how might that shift the way you prepare for and strategize around long-term market risk?